Good morning, this is Michael from Beyond 20, and today we're going to show you how to relink a user account that may have gotten corrupted to any of their items that the individual had in their user folder. So what we're starting off today with is we created a new user account, and this is on the demo czar, and it's going to be the individual here is Lucas. We set up a new account for him as a user, and we went ahead and we set him up with some user dashboards right here and some one-steps. Now these are items that I copied from existing folders, so I didn't create these from scratch, but they are in his user folder, so for all intents and purposes these are basically his. So as you can see here, he has two dashboards and he has two one-steps. Now, what happens sometimes is if the individual gets deleted, removed, or whatever from the system, so we're going to remove Lucas. And if we go back in here and we reload definitions, we're going to notice that because his user account is gone, we'll no longer see him in the list there. Now, the actual items themselves do not disappear. If we go to SQL here, and I'm going to the database here in SQL here, to my right there, and we're going to go to the Trebuchet widgets table. All right. This is where the dashboards are set up. All right, and what we'll do is, let me just comment out this line here, and we're going to execute this top line, just so you can see how many different records that we have in this database here. And so we have 575 if you look down here in the lower right. And if we scroll down, we are going to see the two definitions that are assigned to Lucas still. Now, they're not going to show assigned to him with his name, but this record ID under def scope owner was the record ID assigned to Lucas. So if we take this record ID and let's go to the Trebuchet auth table, we're going to try and see if that record ID exists for Lucas. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in, and then we're going to run this query. All right. And we don't come back with any matches. So Lucas no longer appears in this table. And then we can confirm that by going to the user info table, which is another table, and see if he appears in there. So let's go ahead and we can look and see here, because there's not many users here, that there is no entry for Lucas. So basically what has happened is, let's go ahead and minimize this. The items that were assigned to Lucas are still there, but the link has been broken because they're no longer linked to him. And down here you'll see the one-steps here that were previously assigned to him. So the way that we would go about relinking the accounts is we need to get these scope owner IDs to point to the correct user ID. So if we were to go in here and re-add Lucas back to the system, all right, so we're just going to do a new account. Assign a password. And we'll go ahead and save it. Oh, we gotta assign him to a security group. All right, so now we've got Lucas saved back into the system. So if we go back to our SQL database and we look at the user info table and we rerun this query, we will see a new account for Lucas Sato. However, the rec ID will not be the same as the one previously for his account. So even though he is back in the system, those items remain unlinked to Lucas because he has a new rec ID. And likewise, if we go in here and look in the Trebuchet auth table, we will see that there's a new record for Lucas, and the BizOb ID has the matching rec ID to the one that's in the user info table. So what are we going to do? So what we need to do is we need to update the record IDs in the dashboards and the one steps to point to the new record ID that exists. Now, in the case of sometimes where you may have a user that had a lot of items, it may make more sense to update the auth table and the user info table, but you just have to be careful when making these changes here that you're only updating the records that you want to update. Because since this is SQL, if you make changes to other records that you don't intend to, you can break things doing this. So be very careful when working in SQL with Cherwell. It is imperative that you be very, very careful. So what we'll do is this here. We know which record ID that Lucas is now tied to. So this is his new record ID. So what we need to do is we're going to copy this rec ID and we are going to we're going to start with our Trebuchet widgets table. So this time we're going to try and find items that were assigned to Lucas under his old ID. Now, I just happen to have this in here because when we were doing our searches, I had copied it and used this in here. But so what we're going to do is we're going to paste this first here because we are going to need this information. Then we're going to then copy this and replace it in this statement. And then let's go ahead and run this. You'll notice we came back with 2 entries. So there's only 2 items that are linked to this old Lucas record. All right. So now in order to link them, what we have to do is we have to update that value in the scope owner from the old value to the new value. So we're going to take this value, which is the current value, and that's what this statement right here is, where the def scope equals user and def scope owner equals this, because that's the current value. Then we're going to grab this and replace it in here. So it's going to insert this new value into the existing field. So there should only be 2 records that when we run this will be affected. All right. So if we execute this, we got 2 rows that are affected. And now if we run this top one, because we corrected those rows, when we run this, we shouldn't get any matches. Hold on, let's try and run this again. So we have this, there's 2. Okay, set def scope owner. So let's rerun this one. So now 0 rows affected. Okay, let's do this. And let's just rerun it so we're looking at everything. So it could be, whenever you have multiple queries on there, make sure that you're just highlighting them. It'll make it easier. So if we scroll down to the bottom, and it's likely because due to refresh issue. The scope owner still has the CCF24. Let us see. Let's make sure we're not logged in or have anything open. So let's go ahead and close these. Update. This is why we updated the Trebuchet one-step table. We didn't update the Trebuchet widgets table. So let's go ahead and let's actually, lucky for us, there was values in that table. Those are those one steps there that I showed you earlier in the video here. See, this is where sometimes being very cognizant of what's going on in SQL is very important there. This could have actually worked out very horribly here because I was pointing to the wrong table. So make sure you're looking at the right tables here, okay? So let's go ahead and run this command. We got 2 rows affected. Now then, if we run this command, we will see that they have now been updated down here to the new rec ID. Now, if we go and we pull up back into our starter demo here, if we look at the all users folder for Lucas, we will see the 2 one-steps that were previously under his old record and the 2 dashboards. So we're just going to get logged back in. And once this gets loaded, we'll go ahead and we will check the dashboards. And we go to Lucas, and there are his 2 dashboards. Now, if we go over to the one steps, because we did those earlier without realizing it, we will see the 2 one steps for Lucas have been relinked. And that is how you relink records to a lost user account. Thank you. Have a great day.